You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis.
What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Yeah, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Thursday in the Quad Cities. Thursday, March 12th. Thank you guys so much for joining us. March Madness is in full swing. A great day to talk about sports and everything else. So thank you guys for joining us. However you're watching the show and taking the show in, we appreciate it. If you're on YouTube right now, watching live, we appreciate that. Thank you for doing it. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, all those kind of fun things. If you haven't done that, do that. If you have, thank you. We do appreciate that. Also, the chat is up and going as well today, so make sure you're staying interactive with the show as well. We're also live on X. X has been very, very good to us, so if you're on X, continue to watch. Also, be interactive on that platform as well. We're up on all the podcasting platforms as well, so wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you check out Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Podbean, however you get your podcasts. Make sure you put us in and check us out in that platform as well. And of course, to our viewers in Central Iowa, welcome. We're on the WHO streaming app every evening as well. So we appreciate your feedback and you guys watching us in Central Iowa as well. It's been a busy week as expected in the middle of March. On Monday, we had Cal Huseman on. We had the Makokata girls basketball team that won state championship this past weekend. On Tuesday, Tom Kakert, a couple of baseball coaches from the Western Big Six, also Mark Woodley from KWWL joined us. Yesterday's show, really enjoyed chatting with Allie Meadows, Western Illinois senior guard, a standout heading to the NCAA tournament, also a Central DeWitt product as well. So I really enjoyed chatting with her as well. Also, we had a couple softball coaches from the Western Big Six to preview their banquet that's coming up tonight. Also, Danny Fleener, a physical therapist at Rock Valley Physical Therapy, who will be running his 50th marathon in all 50 states. He will accomplish that later this month. Awesome conversation. His story is amazing. Check out yesterday's show when you get a chance as well. A lot to get to on this morning's show. It is a Thursday during March. March Madness is underway. Conference tournaments in the Big 12, Big 10 going on. Tom Kakert is in Chicago. We caught up with him a short time ago. Obviously, he's made his way down to the United Center right now, but we talked with him a little bit ago about Iowa's victory yesterday and, of course, a game coming up in now less than an hour with Ohio State. We'll have Tom Kakert in a matter of moments to break down the Iowa Hawkeyes. We'll also have a little bit of an announcement from the John Deere Classic. It was just announced moments ago. The Saturday concert at the John Deere Classic is none other than Carrie Underwood. So we'll have tournament director Andrew Lehman joining us in just a little bit, probably around 10:30. We'll talk with him about obviously the concert, but plenty of news from the PGA Tour in recent days. So Andrew Lehman coming up in just a little bit as well. In the second hour of the show, we'll take a look at the Illini. Haven't talked a lot of Illini yet this week. They don't play till tomorrow. Probably Wisconsin. They'll get the winner of Wisconsin and Washington. So we'll talk with Jim Mattson about them. And then also it's day 4 of free agency. So probably something has already happened this morning that I don't know about. But we're going to be joined by Larry Hawley, our friend from Chicago, to kind of break down the Bears and grade what they've done in the postseason, or the offseason, I should say, so far. So a lot to get to on today's show when it comes to all those kind of things. A few news and notes before we get rocking and rolling. We mentioned Iowa winning yesterday 75-64. They trailed by as many as 11 in the first half, and you kind of had that here we go again type of thing. In fact, when we wrapped up the show yesterday, they were trailing by 6 in the first half. A 21-0 run in the second half giving Iowa a comfortable lead. They win by double figures. Cooper Koch, 19 points. Bennett Surratt, 17 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists. So did a little bit of everything. Didn't shoot it well early. Came alive in the second half. Iowa moving on. They'll play Ohio State this morning, as I mentioned, in less than an hour. More on the Hawkeyes in just a second. How about Iowa State? They're at the Big 12 tournament, and they open with a 91-42 victory over Arizona State. They beat the Sun Devils by 49 points, an impressive performance. They play again this morning at 11:30. They will get Texas Tech this morning, a team they lost to a couple weeks ago by or at the Hilton Coliseum. So a good chance for revenge, a chance to move on to the Big 12 tournament. Jake Brend will join us tomorrow on the show from down in Kansas City. So we'll keep our eye on Iowa State as well. We mentioned the banquets this week, tried to promote them as much as possible. Great turnout last night for the Western Big Six Boys Banquet. You can see some coverage of the banquet itself on Channel 4, Jay Kidwell and company down there yesterday. So you can check that out on their website as well. But also the softball banquet will come your way tonight down at the Stern Center in Rock Island, 5:30. Get a ticket at the door. It's $16, I think, and you get a great buffet dinner, and then you can listen to all the coaches and get ready for a great season in the Western Big Six as well. And also, we're going to do a little poll question today. As I mentioned, Larry Hawley coming up in hour number 2. I want you to grade the Bears for me. I'll tell you my grade in the second hour. I know most of you guys know that I'm not a Bears fan, so I'm also always right when it comes to the Bears. I do need to put that in there as well. So I'll have my grade. It's early in free agency, early in the off season, draft still to come, all of those kind of things. So we'll get some grading, but go there. I didn't put F on there, so A, B, C, D. I don't think in any way, shape, or form the Bears have failed the offseason. If you want to write in F or put in the comments, that's fine. That's not realistic if that's what you're thinking. So anyways, that is more of Bears talk coming up in hour number 2 of the show. But we will start today. Again, some big news just breaking at 10 o'clock. Carrie Underwood is the Saturday concert, the 4th of July concert at the John Deere Classic this year. Andrew Lehman coming up around 10:30. But let's start with Tom Kakert. We caught up with him a short time ago. He's got to get down to the UC and all of those kind of things. But a short time ago, we caught up with Tom Kakert to talk a little Hawkeyes. So let's get the latest on the Hawkeyes from Chicago with our good friend Tom Kakert, who's there for another day, which is a good thing. Iowa did what they had to do yesterday. First and foremost, how was the Big Ten tournament in Chicago? It looked like several seats were still available for the games yesterday.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of people there for any of the games, although we weren't there for the evening session, but there may have been a few more folks from Indiana that have now exited. And with Northwestern, there's probably some people, Northwestern people who just drove across town, whatever, to go to the UC. But yeah, not a lot of people. But that's what you do when you have an 18 team tournament, and sometimes like the Washington USC game. Not a lot of Washington fans and USC fans made the trek.
No. What was it? Was the night before? It was Oregon versus Maryland? It's like, how much farther in the middle can you get two teams? I want to talk about the game yesterday, but the headline is obviously Iowa gets the job done. We talked about it earlier this week, and you felt like they were in, especially because the bubble sucks. But like now you don't feel maybe you don't have to sweat a little bit on Sunday or anything like that. Just getting the job done. And also, Tom, just to get back in the win column after losing 6 of 8 games, 3 straight, had to feel good for Iowa just to get back in the win column yesterday.
Absolutely. It gained some confidence. I truth be told, when it was 21-10 or whatever, I was like, oh boy, maybe this is not going to be good here. And then Iowa kind of woke up from their slumber and started to play better basketball for whatever reason. And Ben McCollum joked about it yesterday, and just like why the slow starts that this team continued to have over and over and over again, and they just have not figured out a way to fix that. But they're, they managed through it, had that 21 zip run, and that pretty much sealed the fate of the Terps. Their body language just kind of sunk after that, and they did make a little bit of a run, cut it to, like 9 points, I think, in the second half at one point. But it was that 21 zip run really separated things, and I think some of that really started the last 4 minutes of the first half when Iowa finished the half on 11-2, and I think that was a real key.
It's funny, Tom, because sometimes Iowa can look really, really good. I go back to Ohio State, who they played today at Carver, and that run at the end of the half, I think it was 30-4 or whatever it was. They've done that. I think UCLA, Maryland earlier in the year, they've had stretches where they've been really, really good. Now the consistency, but like the extreme is really good. 21-0 runs don't happen all the time. When they play really good, they're really good. What do you see in those stretches that they go back to Ohio State a few weeks ago, go yesterday at the UC? Obviously, making shots helps. What is it about those runs that's different than maybe the rest of the time when we see the University of Iowa?
Two things. One, good ball movement and finding the open shooter, making the extra pass, and taking that shot. And then defensively, just they cut down those straight line drives and walled up in the post and rebounded the ball. And if you play good defense and you move the ball, if you're Iowa, then you've got a chance to win those games. And that's exactly what they did yesterday in those good stretches. Found open shooters. Helps when Cooper Koch gets red hot, and love seeing that from Coop. It's so weird. Fans tend to, like, if Coop misses like his first 3 shots, it's like everybody gets down. Oh, Coop, he's no good. Da 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 da. And I'm just like, so wait. I mean, he scored over 18 points in 3 of the last 4 games.
Yeah.
And he's playing well. So just, trust that he's gonna, he's shooting the ball pretty well right now, and just let the game play out before you overreact and say, oh, somebody stinks. They can't play basketball. Just chill out, relax, be frustrated. It's part of being a fan, but you don't need to lash out.
It's funny because I think I texted you yesterday. We've talked about it a little bit already today. It's the Cooper Koch Appreciation Show is what I joked, because he did become kind of a whipping boy to some of the fans at the University of Iowa. He's an elite shooter, and he kind of talked a little bit about it after the game. Can you get into that? Because there's been several people that have kind of worked him through this slump that he had. And he was slumping. There's a 6-game stretch where he shot 22% from 3, 8 of 35.
Yep.
No one's arguing that. I'm not. Tom's not.
Nope.
Nothing like that. But I remember saying to you on this show a few maybe your podcast a few weeks ago, it reminds me of when Peyton Sandford went through it a little bit, where he struggled shooting for a longer period than just this. Who's helped Cooper along the way? Because you've got to have the confidence to keep shooting. He's done that, and it's paying off right now.
Yeah, he just, the coaches are going to help him. Ben McCollum's going to help him. Ben wants him to keep shooting. I mean, his dad's going to help him. JR doesn't tend to get too involved. He just, wants to stay away from things for the most part. But, that's just how JR doesn't want to be too big of a presence in there. But, he just has a lot of people that help him, and he's a worker. That's the thing that I always come back to. And he's a really good shooter. So we're seeing the benefits of that right now. He's in a good groove. He's dynamite. I told people can go back and look and read and listen to what I said about him when he came to Iowa. I saw him play in AAU, high school, all that stuff, and he was lethal from the corners. It just was. He was, really good shooter. Just get it to the corner, makes really good decisions with the ball, and can drain that corner three. And guess what we're seeing? He's draining that corner three, and now he's shooting with confidence is such a big thing for any shooter, and he's got that right now.
Seeing a couple go early today will help. Can you go back to the slow starts? And I know Ben kind of joked about them, and it's easy to joke about them when you put a 21-0 run on somebody and you win the game by double figures. But it's been concerning. We've beaten to death the switch of the starting lineup. I mean, we're in the postseason now. I mean, this isn't the time we're usually tinkering with starting lineups and all those kind of things. Is there anything besides, I think the starting lineup changes, just it's gone and passed. It's not going to happen. This is what it is. Yeah. What do you do to get a better start on this team? Is there things I don't buy, and I love Coach McCollum. Oh. I don't buy the nerves thing. I'm sorry. These guys played NCAA tournament games last year, and they've been on big stages. I can't fathom that, like, the second round of the Big Ten tournament was jitters and nerves early on. Is there anything they can do to get off to a better start?
I think they probably have tried to figure that out. The coaches know way more than I do about how to get off to a better start. I don't know. I thought they were good defensively, really good defensively the first 4 minutes of the game. They were, limiting the gaps and active hands and moving really well defensively. So I thought they were great on that end. Maybe if you just get a couple of easy buckets out of some sets, I don't know. They just all seem kind of hesitant to take shots early in the game, almost too unselfish, and maybe you need to be a little more selfish. That's about the only thing I can think of.
Tom Kakert joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Let's flip the page to today because we kind of mentioned that game yesterday reminded me of the Ohio State game and how they put a big run on somebody and played really well and won by double figures. They get Ohio State again this morning. Thoughts on the Buckeyes? They're playing good basketball. I think the last time they didn't look very good was probably in Iowa City a couple weeks ago. This is not a bubble game. Don't. I know they'll sell it when they come on the air and they'll say both teams looking to make the NCAA tournament. Both these teams will be playing in the NCAA tournament next week. Take me to the Buckeyes and what you see today. What's the concern for the Hawkeyes today?
Twofold. One is Bruce Thornton did not play well first game, and Cale Combs had a lot to do with that. He really played elite defense in that game, and he really and he's a type of guard from a physical build standpoint that can compete with Thornton, who's one of those strong fire plug kind of guards. So you've got that. You got that going with the where you have to limit him getting downhill. He's a big time scorer, averages 20 a game. Iowa held him to 10 on 3 of 8 shooting in the last meeting. He just didn't seem into it. He's going to be into it today. He certainly remembers a couple weeks ago on February 25th when they played and what happened in that game. The other is Christoph Tilley, their center, did not play in that game. He averages 11 points a game. That's good production, 7-footer, so he can protect the rim a little bit better and score around the rim. And that's Iowa's had some problems with some bigs in the past. So I think that's another key to the game is how are they able to adjust with Tilley out there. It's going to be a much closer game than it was in Iowa City. I think this has got a chance to go down to the final minute or two because it's just going to be two teams really going at it. It's interesting though. Sometimes the teams that have played already, especially in the Big Ten tournament, it seems like they come out of the gate a little bit better than the team that's had the bye. So we'll see if maybe that'll help Iowa get off to a better start. I don't know. But there's just comfort with the rims and the shooting backgrounds and everything. And I can't remember who I was talking to about it. It was it's a former player, and I can't remember who it was that was at the game yesterday. Not a former Iowa player, but just somebody there that played, and they think that it helps if you've been in the gym and you've seen the backgrounds and everything.
No, absolutely. Tom, Bennett Sturts was a little quiet on Sunday. Had a good game yesterday after that off balance crazy three that he thought he got fouled on. I don't think he got fouled on. This is probably a dust statement, but isn't he due for like a Bennett Sturts masterpiece, if that makes any sense? It feels like he's due to. So me sitting here saying my pick to click is Bennett Sturts isn't going out on a limb by any stretch of the imagination, but doesn't it have that feeling that like he's due to shoot it at a high level? I think last time they played, he was 8 of 11 from the field at Carver Hawkeye against Ohio State. Your thoughts on that and maybe getting him back on track a little bit? He plays so many minutes. Your thoughts on Bennett going into today's game?
Yeah, I think he's due for a better game, and I think he's due for a big scoring game. The other guy that's key in this game for Iowa is Alvaro Figueres, because he scored 20 points in the first game. He had a great game. His brother Nacho was in the stands, remember, and he's over from Great Britain, where he plays basketball. I think it's Great Britain, Ireland, maybe somewhere in that area of the world. He plays professionally. But I think Alvaro looked really sleepy yesterday. That 11 a.m. start was not his jam, so to speak. So hopefully today they can get him going a little bit more, because he was a huge difference maker. I think he had 5 assists in that game and 20 points, just really active and involved. And if he's good, I mean, what are they, 12-1 when he scores double figures this year? So
the Tom Kakert stat.
No, it's not the Tom Kakert stat.
Oh, it is.
It's a stat. I love it though, because it's trends are your friends.
Tom, big picture this real quick for us. We kind of talked there. I think it was yesterday. They on Big Ten Network, Peacock, I think it was. They were like, "Hey, a game tomorrow to get into the NCAA tournament, bubble teams." Like I just said, that's not a thing. Where is Iowa? I mean, obviously you want to keep playing and win and play well. Yeah. But just big picture this 8-9. Can they get? They can't play the way to a 7. They can't play the way to a 7, can they?
Maybe. They could. They win the next 2 games. You beat Michigan. I looked at some of the 7s this morning. It's like Georgia, Kentucky's resume is not great. They're on that line. Villanova. I don't know. I think they could. It's certainly possible that they could elevate themselves. Heck, they win today, they could probably get in that conversation. It's just depends on what the committee thinks. That's all that really matters, not what Joe Lunardi or Tom Kakert or Matt Randazzo think.
No, it is what I think. Dayton out of the question. I know that breaks your heart.
Dayton's gone. Dayton's gone.
But possibly an 8-9 versus TCU, still
there
hanging around.
Yes. Yes. How about that?
Before I make you go, give us a prediction for today's game. What do you see? What do you think? Obviously, they beat Ohio State a couple weeks ago in impressive fashion. I agree, it's a closer game. Your thoughts for today? Will you still be at the UC covering basketball on Friday morning?
I hope so, because I packed for it. So I have my prediction, which is online at HawkeyReport.com. is 71-69 Iowa winning. And I just think they're going to find a way to win a nail biter. So it'll be we're due for a tight game. Although, there was a tight game. I guess there was a couple of tight games yesterday. the USC Washington game was tight, went to overtime, and then I think the Rutgers Minnesota game was relatively tight. Northwestern kind of blew Indiana out towards the end.
And
So,
Indiana's still in the tournament, they're saying, or no?
no,
I was going to
no,
say they can't be.
no, I think they're out. They're out.
They cannot be. A good hire for the University of Iowa. Have you eaten anything good in Chicago before I let you go? What'd you hit up? You know, I know you. When you have morning games, you have evenings to dine a little bit, don't you?
Yeah, we went to Chicago Pizza and Oven Grinders the other night before the game, and that was great. Pizza pot pie, little Mediterranean bread. Oh, just it's unbelievable.
How's the gym at the hotel?
It's okay.
Have you been there?
It works. It works. Yeah,
Boy.
Of course.
He's an animal. He is a machine. He's Tom Kakert. Tommy, enjoy the game this morning. Hopefully we can do maybe a little chat tomorrow on a Michigan-Iowa game. That would be a lot of fun as well. So get to work. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
All right. That is Tom Kakert joining us from Chicago, headed down, obviously, down to the UC now. And if you need anything during the game, obviously the Hawkeye report, Tom kind of talked about like people getting cranky and talking and you see it during the game. Great message boards, great lounge, great community the Hawkeye report is. So make sure you go check that out. If you haven't done that, maybe today's game, toss it up on your computer at work and check it out and get some great content from Tom and Kyle and Tanner and Blair and Dennis, and they do a fantastic job. So Iowa and Ohio State tipping off here soon at the Big Ten tournament. And of course, you've got Illinois who hasn't even played yet. They'll play tomorrow, most likely Wisconsin, depending on what happens this afternoon, but most likely Wisconsin in a rematch of a game that they lost at the down in Champaign earlier this year. So we'll preview that and a bunch more. We're going to chat with our good friend Jim Mattson coming up after the break. You're watching Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. It's a Thursday in March right here in the Quad Cities. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Thursday in the Quad Cities. Plenty to talk about when it comes to March and March 12th. Of course, Tom Kakert just joining us to talk about the Iowa Hawkeyes. They tip off here in about 30 minutes. So I don't have a ton of time to talk to our next guest because he's got a basketball game that I know he's planning on watching intently. But joining me now to talk a little news for the John Deere Classic is the tournament director and our good friend, Andrew Lehman. How are you, my friend? You look great. Quit messing with your camera. It looks perfect.
Well, I mean, we're off and running with all kinds of technical difficulties when you work from home. So here we are.
Are you kidding me? I know that's my life. I work from home and every day is a technical difficulty. Hey, so there's a concert coming to town. We talked about it a little bit at the start of the show. Tell us about Miss Underwood and what the 4th of July might be like out at Deer Run.
Well, I don't know that you can think of, from a country perspective, anyone more iconic in Americana than Carrie Underwood. Multiple time Grammy Award winner, obviously well known for, her lead in to an NFL pregame show, certainly an American Idol winner, really unbelievable music career. And hey, you know what? She sang the national anthem at the Super Bowl. So it's going to be a fun day here in the Quad Cities. And, it's been a long time coming to get this one out into the community. And, what an unbelievable 4-year run we've had here of concerts on course here at the John Deere Classic.
Yeah, it's almost like it was a good idea. Weird, huh? It's despite what some may think, it was a outstanding idea. So Old Dominion on Sunday.
It was a leap of faith, but yes, it turned out to be a great idea.
I was in the office last year, which was awesome, by the way, and it's amazing. One, how things work, but two, there are some up and downs. It's a little bit of a roller coaster ride every now and then, but always works out in the end. Old Dominion on Sunday. Carrie Underwood on Saturday. I've gotten so much positive feedback about Old Dominion and them coming on Sunday. Carrie Underwood is as good as it gets, as big as it gets. How did you balance it? Because it is the 4th of July on Saturday. That's a big deal. Did you weigh one date more than the other, or how did you balance things out when it came to how you set things up this weekend, if that makes any sense?
Yeah, I mean, both are important. One is Saturday, which happens to be, America's birthday, and the 4th of July. And hey, let's not forget it's America 250. So it's a pretty iconic birthday for the United States. And we get a chance to, celebrate that here in the Quad Cities and be a part of that at the John Deere Classic. And then, obviously Sunday is important too, right? I mean, we're closing out, we're crowning another world-class champion on Sunday afternoon and closing it out with great music. And, to your point, these 4 years, we've brought some pretty unbelievable acts here to the Quad Cities to light up the fairway at Deer Run. And, it's different, it's unique. And it goes back to that concept in year one, uniting golf fans and non-golf fans alike. And it's been really cool to see our reach grow. That radius has gone from, we've talked about 2.5 to more closer to 4.5. And it's been an unbelievable thing. And to see the golf course packed, and we've turned music fans into golf fans along the way.
I got to ask you because I've known you for probably, in your opinion, too long. And we've talked a lot of golf over the years. We've talked Iowa.
20 years. This is my 20th year at the John Deere Classic. I've known you for 20.
You're blessed to know me for 20 years. You've put up with me for 20 years, I think is the best way to put it. But if I would have told you 20 years ago, Andrew, that you were the tournament director and that you were bringing concerts to the course as well, and Carrie Underwood and Old Dominion, and honestly, what would you have told me if young me told young you that you'd be doing this 20 years from now?
I've got the perfect answer, and I actually just showed this to my 15-year-old son the other day. Go back to 2019 when I believe it was you that asked the question about Colin Morikawa, Victor Hovland, and Matthew Wolff being the favorites in Vegas at the John Deere Classic. And what did Victor say? Stay off the weed.
Yes. It would have been.
That's what I would have told you 20 years ago. But here we are. I mean, things evolve. And if you're in the event business, you've got to evolve and stay with the times and stay fresh and find a way to, to continue to elevate your event and bring, different audiences that become, hopefully lifetime John Deere Classic fans.
Well, the news has been out for 36 minutes and it's all over social
My
media.
phone, this is why I'm having technical difficulties. The phone is blowing up. The email's going off. I can't get my camera to work. So you get this forehead on an iPhone right in front of you.
You get the whole box when you're at work. It's just that little box. Look at that. It's almost, here's what I was told, by the way, full disclosure. Yeah, I'll come on the show at 10:30, but I got to be off by 11 because I got an Iowa basketball game to watch, which I completely understand. That's a nice sweatshirt. I like the Hawkeye logo. That's nice.
It's a nice piece. Yeah.
We'll talk. We're going to talk basketball in a second. PGA wise, some announcements and some news this past week. Signature events going from 8 to 16, I believe, eventually, and how it all is working and structured. Golf fans, I guess, at home see it and they go, first thing here in the Quad Cities, you think, how does this affect the John Deere Classic? I guess your thoughts on the news this week, and I don't know if you know how it affects the John Deere Classic yet, but your thought process as we move forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's a change, and I think we've been living in change here across the PGA Tour landscape for the last 5 years, maybe the last handful of years. Here's what I'll say is the John Deere Classic has never been in a stronger place in terms of its place on the PGA Tour, and we're in an unbelievable position, where we are. We obviously understand that, the signature events are going to double. I think there are some questions that are still out there that need to be answered. The fields in those events going from 70 or 80 players to 120, what does that do? Who are those elevated events? Obviously, it's going to take, 8 more title sponsors to step up and be a part of that. And those discussions, quite honestly, haven't happened yet. So we don't know where we fit, whether we're in that or where we've been, kind of now. It's not a lot of change, quite honestly, in terms of how the tour has been operating. The other thing that they mentioned is relegation and, guys having to play their way into a position to play in those 16 elevated events. And, what does that look like? Because every other sport that has relegation, whether it's, Formula One or it's, and I guess Formula One really isn't a great example because they change drivers and that's probably not different than, free agency in other sports. But we'll use the English Premier League, right? Teams don't get a chance to play their way back up to the Premier League in the middle of a season. So I think those questions are still out there and need to be answered, and we'll see how that shakes out. But I will say this. Every change the tour has made over this last handful of years has had a direct benefit to all the other events like the John Deere Classic. And we're probably, we have always said probably, but I think we really are the smallest market on the PGA Tour now. Jackson, Mississippi's event has gone away and Lake Tahoe's event has gone away. So I think we're the smallest. But we've had a 54-year run. We know we're through 2030. We've got the best title sponsor on the PGA Tour in John Deere, who's completely invested not only in this event, but most importantly, this community, and is able to tout the economic impact, tout the charitable impact that's happening as a result of this each and every year. And then they get to showcase their brand on a global scale. And, that can't be understated for, a top 70 Fortune company or a top 100 Fortune company to be able to do that and for them to bring their guests from around the world. So, I have faith that the tour will do the right thing and get this thing ironed out. I don't think we're going to have any more details until right before tournament week. I think they talked about it being at the Travelers Championship, which is late June. And I think it's business as usual, if you want my honest answer. And our staff feels the same way. We're ready to go to work, roll up our sleeves and, get in the trenches and put on another unbelievable John Deere Classic here this summer.
You mentioned in evolving, we talked about the concerts already, and you would never imagine that. Kind of talk about your role and like how the John Deere Classic has to think that way when it comes to you don't have everything in your own hands. You don't have the ability to do everything. So you have to evolve or adapt, if you will. And I know that's in the future and who knows what that looks like, but that's no different than probably every year the John Deere Classic, every John Deere Classic week. Kind of talk about that because it is about evolving and figuring out ways to put together the best week of golf you can here in the Quad Cities.
Yeah, absolutely. Acceptance and overcoming, in a lot of cases is the best path forward. We use the analogy, the train for 2026 has left the station, and quite honestly, there are no more stops until we reach the destination, which is July 5th. And then that train leaves the station again, and we get to October with a charity announcement. So, there's not a lot of stops and room for, reflection along the way. And when, either it's a league or it's, circumstances that happen or a player commits and then decommits, you can't get too high, you can't get too low. You got to live right in the middle in that sweet spot. And, I think we get that question a lot from folks who want to break into the event industry. And I think that's a common theme that you would find from folks that do events or folks that, are in the sporting industry is you got to have an even keel approach. And, the world is never falling and, the sun is never too bright. So, just stay in that sweet spot and do the best you can. And that's kind of what we've done here for 54 years. And there's been a lot of people that have done it before us. And we've just kind of adopted the same mindset. And, we're blessed that we live in a marketplace where I think the Quad Cities, community understands that it's a roll up your sleeves and go to work mentality across this community. And I think that's probably a little bit of respect that we get to, and people enjoy that. And it's a blue collar effort.
Andrew Lehman from the John Deere Classic joining us right now on Off Day with Matt Randazzo. Carrie Underwood, the act on Saturday, Sunday, Old Dominion. We know that's set up. I got to ask you about the other stuff. I guess maybe off the course first. You always like to bring an athlete or two besides myself on grounds. Obviously I'm a athlete, but any work towards that? I know there's probably not an announcement. You're not going to give me any little tip or anything, but how is that process going? I guess
it's good. Our conversations with celebrities and athletes continue to happen. And we've taken some big shots. I think of guys like Brock Purdy and Tyrese Halliburton. We've had conversations with them, and it ultimately hasn't worked out. Those are not conversations happening for 26, so I can share that.
Yeah.
But there are athletes that are, top of their game in whatever sport they're in. Let's not forget that the Savannah Bananas are in town in Iowa City that weekend. And hey, how can we find a way to partner with them? So nothing concrete to share yet, but those are all things that are, irons in the fire. And I'm confident that we'll continue that because it's become a big part of Kids Day, Youth Day, and the Pro-Am, quite honestly. So, John Deere's got a new relationship with Major League Baseball. So there's a chance we can leverage that. And man, that World Baseball Classic's been fun. And thank goodness the American team found a way to avoid a disaster. But sorry, just went off a beaten path.
No.
But no, I think when we do announce something from an athlete perspective, it's going to be another one of those things where people are excited about it.
I love to hear that. It's a hard question to ask you March 12th. Now, yes, the weather's starting to get nice, although you're probably heading to sunny spring break, and I'm going to be stuck here with snow this weekend. But don't feel bad. But people start thinking more about golf when the weather gets nice. We have a couple days where it gets to the 60s and 70s. So I got to ask you, like, field wise, I know it all changes, but your feelings, your thoughts as we get ready to start looking ahead to a field at this year's John Deere Classic.
Yeah, I think it's still too early. I checked it the other day just because I was curious, and there were 7 guys in the top 50 in there at this point, which I think is a great thing for early March. We haven't been out on the road yet. We're gonna wait and do that a little bit later. We've adopted a little bit later mindset, especially with these signature events. I think the way guys look at that has changed a little bit. And let's not forget our field goes from 156 down to 144. I want you to write that down so next time you talk about the size of field, you get that.
What did I say that one time? What'd I say? Like
130,
136?
136 of the
I
world's
was just
best.
I was seeing the future is what I was doing. I knew it was
Yeah,
going
well,
to get
you
cut.
went a little wrong on the number, but with that, we have a reduction in exemption, so that's a lot tougher process. We go from 8 down to 4. And hey, how about our boy Zach? Zach goes out and wins his first Champions Tour
gonna
event.
ask you.
So I'm confident we'll see Zach this summer still. I think he wants to still come back here and play, and yeah, it's going to be great. And I think back to last year, right? You had, probably from a name standpoint, we had Max Homa and Ricky Fowler here, who had both kind of struggled a little bit in their season, and what that did to this community and people's excitement level to have them out there. And
Yeah.
Home and Max kind of found some confidence here, and quite honestly, had an unbelievable chance to win. Just kind of got stuck in neutral a little bit on Sunday, and Brian Campbell played unbelievable. So it's going to be another fun field announcement, and our goal is to keep that trajectory with strength of field moving in the upward trajectory.
I'm looking at the clock. Make sure I don't keep you too long. I got a couple more. You mentioned Zach. That was my next question. To watch him do that and have success, and you knew he was gonna because he's competitive on the PGA Tour as well. Awesome to see that. Did you? I'm efforting. I think the next couple weeks, Zach's finally going to make his debut on Off the Air. Here with Matt Randazzo, a long-awaited debut. Do you text him with like, "Hey, Grandpa, great job winning," or do you anything like that? Do you behave yourself, or how does that go?
I will send you a copy of the text. Yeah, we sent him a message right away, and I just said, 1 for 1, baby. Way to go. Couldn't be more proud of you. And I'm not lying. He responded within an hour. And, just, hey, thanks for the support. Obviously, he's been coming here since 2002. You were working, I think, back in 2002. I was still in high school, but
I did. I did the Zach Attack story. Everybody had Zach Attack shirts, and that was one of my first stories I did.
It's cool. So no, he's been an unbelievable friend and ambassador for our event, and that it's been fun. He was obviously really close with Claire over Claire's 20-year career, and I've gotten to know him really well over. Gosh, I hate saying, my 20-year career, here we are.
Yeah,
and he's just been, somebody we can lean on, somebody we can ask advice of. He's served on our executive board where he dials into meetings and gives maybe some tour updates. So I think that win is the first of many for him on the Champions Tour.
No, absolutely. I'm going to ask him Claire or Andrew. I'm pretty sure he'll say Claire. But
I think that I listen. It's like the World Baseball Classic. There's a run rule. I think you can retire it now.
Oh no, it's not been around too often. All right, we got to talk a little Hawkeyes. They tip off in 14 minutes ish, so I'll get you out of here in like 3. Today's game, Ohio State. I was at the last Ohio State game. I think I tried to beg you to come with me, but you're too good. Thoughts on today? They're in the tournament, right, Andrew? They're fine. They're good. This isn't a win and get in type of thing, but you want them to continue to play good basketball. Thoughts on the Hawkeyes today in the UC?
I think you got some pretty desperate texts from me when you were at that Ohio State game. I was in a dark place in that first,
Not just you.
8 minutes of the game.
Not just you.
A lot of people. So going into the tournament, going into the Big Ten tournament, my hope and expectation and desire was to get 2. I know we had a chance to beat Michigan at home. That's a really good basketball team. That's a Final Four type basketball team. So that's not going to be a disappointment for me tomorrow. In fact, I'm going to be on a plane and wouldn't get to watch it anyway. So I want today, because that would get them to 22-12 if they lose tomorrow. And that would, I believe, get them to 12 wins in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Which is an unbelievable number for a group that, and they've had some disappointing losses, but a group that, by and large, I know there's some new pieces and Cooper stayed home, but that's a team that won 30 games last year in the Missouri Valley and came in and competed really hard in the Big Ten. And night in and night out, there's been growing pains. That first half was a tough watch yesterday. I had it on in my office, and I was actually wondering, if they lose that game, that's 7 of 9, and do you fall to that 11 seed play-in game? Yeah, you start to worry. Sunday, although on a beach, when you're watching Selection Sunday, it maybe doesn't matter as much. But I'm just plugging those in for you.
So he's going on a plane.
But no,
and he's going to a beach.
today's important, and Iowa played outside of that first 8 minutes and outside of the first 4 minute stretch of the second half. We were the dominant, the much better team.
Yeah.
You keep Thornton in check, and I think we're going to be just fine. And I think you're going to see Bennett Sturts play really well today.
No, I think that's the case. Hopefully, Coop can keep shooting it well as well. I know that put the phone away. Get done with this. Go down to that fancy basement that you have. I know it's amazing, and forget about life for a little bit. Watch the Iowa basketball. Keep off the air on one of the TVs. Put that on one of the TVs just for fun, and go Hawks, my friend. I appreciate you again. Carrie Underwood on Saturday, Old Dominion on Sunday. The field's coming and rounding into shape. Next time I talk to you, we'll talk about a celebrity or something like that. You should do this more often. Like, there's no reason that you're not on the show more than just for concerts. Like, this is there's a chemistry here, Andrew. I don't know if you've been told that, but like, it's good TV.
No, I think people tune in for it. I'm sure ratings are through the roof, something like that. But no, always appreciate the opportunity. And, I know you're always scraping the bottom of the barrel when you're begging me to be on, but here we are.
No, I love it. I appreciate you, buddy.
Hey.
Go Hawks. Yeah.
Hey, Deer Run is opening on the 20th of March, so we are almost at golf season.
Was that your invitation for me to come golf with you?
Nah, I'll probably be working.
Oh, all right.
Let's go.
It'll probably be 12 degrees, but that's okay. All right. Golf right around the corner. All right, buddy. Go Hawks.
Hey,
we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
That is Andrew Lehman, John Deere Classic Tournament Director. The news coming to this morning, right as the show started, Carrie Underwood is the Saturday act at the John Deere Classic. Concerts on the course, 4th of July. So it goes Carrie Underwood on Saturday, Old Dominion on Sunday. Check. 4 for 4 when it comes to the John Deere Classic and concerts on the course. It should be an awesome July once again out at the John Deere Classic. And of course, we'll do the show. We're going to invade Andrew's office. If you missed that last year, it was a ton of fun. So a lot of fun guests, a lot of ways to celebrate the John Deere Classic. We'll do the same thing again this year out at the JDC. We got a lot more to get to. After the break, we'll talk a little Illinois athletics. We haven't talked about the Illini yet. They don't play again till tomorrow, probably against Wisconsin, but we'll catch up with our good friend Jim Mattson. That and much more. You watch an OTA on a Wednesday. Excuse me, it's Thursday. It is not Wednesday, it's Thursday right here in the QC. For over 65 years, Lindquist Ford has proudly served the Quad Cities, and they're just getting started. Looking for a new ride? Check out a healthy mix of new and quality pre-owned vehicles ready for you. Need service? Skip the waiting room. With free pickup and delivery and mobile service, they come to you. No delays, no hassle. From routine maintenance to a full-service collision repair shop, it's fast, friendly, reliable, and always transparent. Lindquist Ford, serving the Quad Cities since 1959. Experience the difference today.
Hey, I'm the Crawford guy.
Ooh, do you guys always speak at the same time?
Sorry, guys. I'll go first. If you need help with your heating or air conditioning, or electrical, or plumbing, Crawford Company can solve your problem.
But what about your problem?
What problem?
Do you not hear yourselves? Take it from me, the Crawford lady.
And me, the Crawford guy.
Crawford is the comfort company.
Give me the keys. Learning to drive can be stressful for both the student and, yes, the parent as well. Relax. There's an easy way to avoid the stress. Skiles Driving School in East Moline has been helping new drivers hit the road with confidence for over 20 years. Whether you're a teen earning your first license or an adult looking for behind-the-wheel training, we've got you covered. Their certified instructors are patient, experienced, and use modern vehicles equipped for safety and comfort. From classroom instruction to real-world driving, we make learning safe, affordable, and even fun. Call 309-278-0098 or visit skylesdriving.com. Skiles Driving School. Get in, buckle up, drive your future forward.
Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Thursday in the Quad Cities. Big Ten tournament is on everyone's mind right now. Taking center stage this week in Chicago. We've had basketball in Chicago on Tuesday, Wednesday, and today. So 3 days and no Illini of yet. That's one of the perks of being pretty good when it comes to the Big Ten, and that is exactly what they are. The Illini will get rolling on Friday, and joining me now to talk all about it, our good friend Jim Mattson down in Peoria. How are you, my friend?
I'm excited. I'm running down to Champaign today to watch Peoria Manual and boys, but I am going to head up to the United Center tomorrow and kind of hoping to see Michigan, Iowa. That'd be fun. And then hoping to see, obviously, Illinois, likely Wisconsin. So looking forward to Big Ten basketball. It is I always say it doesn't mean much. It doesn't probably affect the seeds much, but I just love watching the basketball there. I love seeing all the different mascots and the bands and the fans. And it really is kind of a celebration of Big Ten basketball, and it's fun.
One of my favorite weeks of the year. I miss doing it. I thought about actually doing the show in Chicago this week. I really did. And then I saw the times, and it's not good to do a show between 10 and noon when Iowa starts at 11. It doesn't really work out that great. But you mentioned it. You can get there. Of course, we usually had to cover two teams, but you get to sit there and watch some good basketball. So I always kind of poo-poo the Big Ten tournament about importance, but when the week gets here, I'm always ready to rock and roll. Illinois, before we talk about Illinois, it's in Chicago. You've been to it in Indianapolis, Chicago. I don't know if you went when it was in Minnesota, I think. It's been out to Brooklyn, like all over the place. But I'm an Indianapolis type of guy.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, Chicago, probably, I don't know if it helps the Illini either or. They're both close. They both travel well, all of those kind of things. Your thoughts on Chicago? I just like Indianapolis better. Maybe I'm crazy.
No, I love Indianapolis. They could have it in Indianapolis every year for me. It's just there's more going around the arena. There's a buzz in the arena. Here, it's you park your car and you walk in, and it doesn't have that feel of a tournament as much. I think it probably favors Illinois to be in Chicago. You get to Indiana, and I know Indiana's no good, but the Purdue fans are everywhere, and there are a ton of Indiana fans. But it probably favors Illinois a little bit to be in Chicago. But yeah, I think it's a very small minority of people that would say they prefer it in Chicago. Indianapolis is just built downtown for the tournament, for the Final Four, for the Big Ten tournament. I just think it's darn near perfect.
No, it is. Besides winning a Big Ten championship this week, what are the goals for the Fighting Illini? If you're going in as an Illini, obviously they're going to say we want to win it all. Every team's going to say they want to win it all. What are the goals for the Illini? What do they want to accomplish this week?
Yeah, I mean, Brad Underwood in it to win it. Obviously, they want to win this tournament, and I think 2 years ago, winning in Minnesota gave them a little bit of a jump to get to the Elite Eight. Obviously, 6 years ago they lose to Loyola after winning the Big Ten tournament, so you can't necessarily say there's a big boost. But guys, I think need to see the ball go in the bucket. Tommy and Zavonimer have not shot it terrifically. It'd be nice to see them make some shots. Keaton Wagler is 26% shooting from three in his last 5 games, and you can't convince me he's not either A, tired, or B, that shoulder's bothering him. So I thought we saw a little bit of Keaton Wagler in the second half against Maryland. He was scoreless at halftime. In the second half, he kind of forced the issue. He got 11 points. And when you think about Illinois at their best, you think about the win at Purdue, the win at Nebraska, 46 points at Purdue, I think 28 at Nebraska. When Illinois has played their best, Wagler has been one of the very best players in the country. And not to diminish anything he's accomplished this year, because it's as good a freshman year as any Illinois player, but Wagler has not been that good since the UCLA game. So you'd like to see Wagler get back to a little bit of his swagger, because he's been a little tentative, especially in the first half. So you'd like to see a little bit more of his dominant confidence and just see some shots go in for the big guys, I think would help. But as an Illinois fan, I think it's great that they potentially could play Wisconsin, because guards have given Illinois a problem. How do they adjust? How do they handle Boyd and Blackwell? I think it's great that they could potentially play Michigan, because if your dream is to get to a Final Four, you're probably going to have to beat a team that is considerably more athletic than you. Mm-hmm. It hasn't gone well against UConn the first time. It hasn't gone well against Michigan the first time. How do you adjust? What works? I think it would be very, very good for Illinois to play Michigan on Saturday, and good for Illinois to play Wisconsin on Friday.
Jim, you look at it, I want to stay with the superstars, because we just talked with Tom Kakert about Bennett Sturts, and I said, Bennett's been good, but a little struggle shooting of late, and just maybe not himself the last couple games. Kind of the same thing with Keaton Wagler. And you look at, one's a senior and used to it and been part of this, But you also look at Bennett, never sits down on the bench ever. And so
Right.
you wonder if the attrition of a Big Ten season and playing every single minute is wearing on him. Kind of flip it for Keaton, because he's not a senior. He's a freshman. There's always that freshman wall that they talk about and everything. Are we seeing that? Are we seeing adjustments in scouting reports because he is so good? He's arguably and probably will be the Big Ten Player of the Year, not just the Freshman of the Year. What's different about Keaton Wagler, I guess, the last couple weeks?
Well, I think it's a combination of a little bit of all. I mean, this is not Kansas high school basketball game 30. This is the Big Ten basketball game 20 or 21 now. And I think the Big Ten is probably the biggest thing. I think the scouting in the Big Ten, I think the defense in the Big Ten, I think the size and athleticism in the Big Ten. I think the best thing that's going to happen to every Big Ten team on Sunday is they're going to look at the bracket and not have to play a Big Ten team, not have to play a Big Ten coach, not have to play a Big Ten roster. So it's very rare that a team is peaking right now after 20 games of being heavily scouted and teams trying to take away your strength and teams trying to be physical with you. And I do think the Big Ten wears down darn near everybody. And it's a grind, especially now with the travel and what have you. So I think kind of the combination of the freshman wall and Big Ten coaches saying, let's beat them up a little bit. Let's be physical with them. I think that is all kind of, and again, at 6'5", 6'6", he's going to be bigger than mid-major guards he's going to play in maybe round 1 and round 2 of the tournament. But in the Big Ten, there's a lot of athletes. Lendeborg guards him. Yaxel guards him when Michigan plays. He's never been guarded by a 6'9", 260-pound guy. So I think all of that is kind of factored into a little bit of a slump. But I do wonder about the shoulder. He took a very hard fall against UCLA. Brad Underwood said he was getting some treatment even a couple weeks later. So you just wonder a little bit about the shoulder too.
Jim Mattson joining us right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Let's assume that they're playing Wisconsin for the sake of argument. And you kind of mentioned guards, and they have two really good ones getting downhill and all those kind of things. Wisconsin came to Illinois and I think surprised a lot of people and beat Illinois. And I kind of talked this week about almost being a revenge tour. There's the possibility of Wisconsin, possibility of Michigan, possibility of maybe Michigan State, something like that along those lines. Wisconsin, the matchup itself, we kind of talked a little bit about it, but what's beneficial for Illinois? And also, is there something to be said about, kind of getting some redemption against some teams that got you in some really good games earlier this season?
Yeah, I think revenge is part of it, but I think just how do you adjust? I mean, how do you prevent Boyd from scoring 20? I mean, Boyd and Blackwell had 48 in that game. How do you prevent their guards from getting kind of whatever they wanted in that game? How do you adjust? Can Boswell shut one of them down? Can you figure out a way? Because you're going to run into really good guards in this tournament. There's no doubt about that. I mean, Illinois is going to be the tallest team in the country, which means no matter who they play in the tournament, they're going to be the tallest team. But they're going to run into super quick guards. So I want to see how Illinois adjusts, how the defense adjusts to try to take away one or not, if not both of those guys somehow. But I think Illinois, out of probably all the losses, 15-5 in the Big Ten, the Wisconsin one's probably the one that kind of sticks in their craw a little because they were up by 12 with 8 minutes to go. They didn't finish. They played that game without two starters, without Boswell, without Stojakovic. They ran out of gas. I think if you probably polled Illinois about which team they probably want the most revenge on or which team they feel like, man, we should have taken care of business, let's go do it, it would probably be Wisconsin.
Absolutely. You look at it, Jim, and you can say with Iowa, hey, they needed to win a game just to feel comfortable on Sunday.
Yeah.
Is it for Illinois win a game to feel comfortable going to St. Louis with a 2 seed? Do you get into those kind of things bracketology wise when it comes to hopes of I think that's the goal. I think most Illini fans want to go to St. Louis as a 2 seed.
Right.
Are they there already? Do they need to do work in your mind to get there? Your thoughts when it comes to everybody's favorite term this time of year, bracketology, going into the
I think they're on the 2-3 bubble. I think I think if they win, they're in as a 2. I don't think losing to Michigan is going to drop you off the 2 line. I think if they beat Wisconsin, they pretty much secure a 2. You lose to Wisconsin, I think there's still a chance you could get the 2 depending on how the other conference tournaments go, but 3 definitely comes into play. So, yeah, I mean, if St. Louis is on the line, it means a lot. If, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, you could probably make some differences there. But there's not a ton of difference between 2 and 3. But I do think a win over Wisconsin would probably solidify it too. I mean, their resume is really good. I mean, they're 8-2 in road games in the Big Ten, which is just crazy. They then have a win over, just about everybody in the Big Ten with the exception of Michigan and Michigan State, who, maybe they'll get a shot at Michigan on Saturday. Gosh, who knows? Maybe they'll get a shot at Michigan State on Sunday. But I mean, I think they beat Wisconsin. Their resume is a 2 seed. So I do feel like that would probably solidify a 2 regardless of what happened on Saturday.
You know what Illinois has with Keaton Wagler. What's an X factor? Who's an X factor? Not just maybe for this week and weekend in the Big Ten tournament, but maybe for the couple next 3-4 weeks, hopefully, if you're an Illini fan. Who's an X factor that if Jim Mattson had to say this guy has to play well or deliver, maybe not named Keaton Wagler? That's an easy one.
Yeah, Tommy to me is kind of the wild card because he can really be a stretch 3. Remember last year he hit a bunch of threes in both NCAA tournament games, set some kind of crazy record for the most threes by a 7-footer in the tournament. Tommy has not played well for a stretch here either. So I think getting Tommy, because Tommy is such a mismatch because he can go in the post and he can certainly shoot the 3. Illinois needs their 7-footers, their big guys to hit some threes. So I think Tommy's a bit of an X factor. I do think the biggest X factor, and you told me I can't pick Wagler, but, Wagler and Merkovich are probably their 2 best players, and they've never been to the big dance. They're freshmen, and it's weird. Dee and Darren didn't have a lot of success when they were freshmen. It's weird to, I know Carmelo Anthony's the answer, but that's been 30 years. It's weird to think, we're going to kind of let 2 freshmen carry us, but that's kind of where we are in a time when the NCAA basketball is as old as it's ever been with transfer portal kids and what have you. I'm somewhat curious how these 2 freshmen react to the big dance and then the pressure of one and done, and because that's pretty rare to have maybe your 2 biggest decision makers on the court be legitimate freshmen.
Just a few more for Jim Mattson before I let him get on his way. Big picture for the Big Ten tournament. I looked at this bracket, and my first thing I looked, I said, Purdue's a 7 seed in the Big Ten.
I know. Number one in the country preseason. Number one in the country.
The most. And then they're still talking about them being like a 2 or 3 seed. Yeah, in the NCAA tournament. It's like they're 7. And what jumps out to you? I think Purdue did. Anything else jump out to you when you look at the Big Ten bracket of what maybe to expect this weekend? Obviously, some hopeful matchups of, well, I'd love to see Iowa, Illinois again, but maybe Illinois, Michigan in a realistic world. What jumped out when it came to that bracket? Or was it Purdue just being a 7 seed in the Big Ten?
Well, that did astonish me that Purdue's a 7 seed. I mean, they're a preseason number 1. Obviously, they've had problems guarding a little bit and athletically, but that jumped out at me. But, even this week, like the All Big Ten team just jumped out at me, how good the All Big Ten second team was. And obviously, we're now talking about 18 teams. But the amount of – was Sturt's second team? He's a first-round draft pick.
He was first team for media, second team for coaches. Him and Price flip back and forth. But he's not a unanimous. It's crazy.
Right.
Bruce Thornton has scored more points in an Ohio State uniform than anybody in the history of the world, and he's on the second team, Jim.
I know. That's what I mean. When has the Big Ten had, maybe in the glory days of the 80s and everybody stuck around for 4 years, but the depth of talent, like almost every game at this Big Ten tournament, I want to see Bruce Thornton. I want to see Braden Smith. I want to see Bennett Sturts. I want to see Michigan's athletic team. There's so many good players in the Big Ten. It's crazy. And I do think, by far Michigan's the team that can go the farthest in the big dance. But, I think there's a number of teams in the Big Ten, if they get hot, could get to a Final Four. So the depth of the Big Ten, I do a radio show and I talk about it. Purdue, I just can't get over Purdue's a 7. If you'd have told me at the beginning of the year Purdue was a 7, I would say, did 3 of their guys get hurt and out for the year? And they're healthy in a 7 seed. It's crazy.
Yeah, the Big Ten's loaded. All right, feet to the fire. How far does Illinois go? Who wins the Big Ten tournament?
I think Michigan. I really think Dusty May has this team kind of on a let's prove it every night. They went 10-0 on the road.
It's crazy.
They went 10-0 on the road in the Big Ten. 19-1 is pretty crazy too. But they went into every Big Ten arena and said, we're going to play our ball and we're going to beat you. And I think they had that swagger that, a little bit, we're just not losing. So I do think Michigan's the best team, the most athletic team, and I do think they're motivated. Dusty May has done just a wonderful job of getting that team ready to play every night. So I do think Michigan wins. I think Illinois gets to Saturday. I think maybe they hang with Michigan a little longer this time, but it's a bad matchup for Illinois. who likes to play matchup ball and find a favorable matchup. There aren't many favorable matchups against Michigan. So I'm going very chalk here, but I think Michigan's the best team. And I just think the fact that they can walk into every arena and win proves that they're going to go to Chicago and win 3.
I saw them up close against Iowa, and it wasn't just on the floor because Iowa played well, almost beat them, but it was the afterwards. They just have a different vibe to them where it's us against the world. Like, I think people – I keep saying, like, they're due to lose. Well, now they have no chance to be due to lose because we're in tournament season. They don't want to be doing that now. So totally different factor when it comes to that. I had Makokata girls on Monday. They won a state championship. That was one of the things I loved about doing TV for 25 years was celebrating state champions. You had 2 state champions on the same night. Kind of talk about that. DMAC and people here in our area know about Washington as well. And DMAC, I believe, beat Wethersfield by 2.
They did.
So that's, I mean, Wethersfield people watching, that's how close. I don't know if it makes you feel good or frustrated, but what's it like to be able to celebrate? I know that's what you love about it as well. The Illinois stuff and Big Ten tournament, all those kind of things, we've done them. They've been fun, but the high school stuff is what resonates. And I know that was fun for you to do the other night.
Yeah, I'm in Morton right now, my hometown, and Mackinac is like 6 miles that way, and Washington's like 6 miles that way. And they both have state championship teams. They both had fire truck parades, the community around. And I love the girls' sports. I love that the crowds are there for the girls' sports. And to Wethersfield's, the DMAC girls came in my studio last night, and I always ask them, who's the best team you played? And the DMAC girls were all there, and I said, who's the best team you played in the tournament? And every one of them said Wethersfield. Wow. They said that Wethersfield, it was a 2-point game. Wethersfield had the ball in the air to win the game. And you're right. That's March Madness. That ball goes in the air. We might be having fire truck parades at Wethersfield instead of at DMAC. But yeah, it's cool to have 2 state champions from Central Illinois. And they were both led by senior classes and 4-year stars and 2,000 point scorers. So they both had pressure all year. And but there's nothing like a high school celebration. And it was pretty cool to have 2 of them.
Jim, I think you'll be remembering that Washington team for a while.
Yeah.
Like when it comes, there's always state champions and there's a lot of them. We've covered a lot of them, but there's always those few that kind of stick out in your head. Like that team of the state champions was really special. Do you get that feel?
Yeah.
You kind of talked about them, but I think you said like 1,000 point scorers, a couple 2,000 point scorers. Everybody's going to play college basketball some year. It reminds me of the Moline team we had a couple years ago with a couple D2, D1 guys. Everybody went and played some type of college basketball.
Yeah.
That Washington team, you've only done this a few years, I hear, just a couple years. But probably pretty good big picture wise.
Yeah, well, I remember you and Scott Weiss getting up early and going to the gym with Brock Harding.
Yes.
These girls went to the gym every day at 5 a.m. and worked out. They shot every day at 5 a.m. at the local health club, and they did it for 3-4 years, and they were as good as shooting and passing team. But, the coach of Washington says, I felt like I was a hardworking player in high school. These girls redefine hard work, and that's something that you appreciate too. I mean, they're very skilled, very talented kids, but they work really hard and they set their goals high. And that's, again, the beauty of high school sports.
I love it. Love high school sports. Love talking with Jim Mattson. Enjoy the Big Ten tournament. I'm going to miss you this year. Hopefully we catch up again real soon. And enjoy March, my friend.
Hey, we're proud of Cooper Koch here in Central Illinois. So keep Cooper hot, and maybe we'll see Iowa coming tomorrow against Michigan too. That'd be fun.
It's almost like he didn't forget to shoot. Right. Like it's funny because he went through a little spell and
I know
he kind of became, and I hate it, a little bit of a whipping boy to Iowa fans for a couple. Can you tell Iowa fans that are watching this right now, you've covered a ton of Cooper Koch, one of the better shooters you've covered in your day?
Unbelievable shooter, unbelievable passer, smart kid. I mean, I was not mad at Iowa fans, but I was like, come on, guys. This guy, his dad played at Iowa. He loves Iowa. He wants to be a 4-year Hawkeye. We just don't have that anymore. He's going to help you. He helps you in so many ways. He's a freshman, and now you're starting to see him turn the curve and get a little confidence. And Cooper's going to be a great Hawkeye. He's going to be a great, great Hawkeye. So, I always say, gosh, cheer for the freshmen. The last thing you need to do is make them whipping boys. I mean, they need your encouragement. It's a big jump. And you're seeing Cooper play really well here at the end of the year, which excites us.
Especially this day and age when they can leave
Absolutely.
If you don't like it.
Absolutely.
You know what? I joked that this was our Cooper Koch appreciation show with Tom Kakert. We continue the appreciation with Jim Mattson. I know you got stuff to do. Get out of here. We'll talk to you soon.
See you, Matt.
Thanks, Jim. Jim Mattson, one of the best in the business. Going to go up to the Big Ten tournament tomorrow and check out Illinois tomorrow. Tomorrow could be a lot of fun. If Iowa wins, they would play Michigan in that first game, and then it would be Illinois and I think Wisconsin. We'll see what happens today in game number 2. I mean, we can make fun of the Big Ten tournament and say it doesn't mean anything, but as fans, if you get to on a Friday, go Iowa, Michigan, Illinois, Wisconsin, and that's just the start of the day. Yeah, sign me up. I'm all for it. We got a lot more to get to. Coming up after the break, we'll talk a little Bears football. Free agency is now in day 4. We'll kind of grade the Bears, where you think they're at in their postseason, or excuse me, their offseason. We'll do that with Larry Hawley. It's next right here on OTA.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Thursday in the Quad Cities. We are entering day number 4 of free agency in the NFL, which means if you look at X or Twitter or whatever, usually if you scroll, there's going to be something breaking or something changing as we go. It's been an interesting week for the Chicago Bears. No huge signings, but a couple additions and maybe back into the Max Crosby sweepstakes. Always something going on up in Chicago. We're joined by our good friend Larry Hawley to kind of break down the Bears and a little bit more. First and foremost, my friend, how are you? Good to see you as always.
Thank you. Good to see you. It's St. Patrick's Day weekend here in Chicago, so it's always joyous. It's Big Ten tournament weekend. It's back in Chicago, and it's NFL free agency. So the temperature dropped, but the spirits have not. So very, very happy to be back on the program.
I love it. I love having you. I want to talk some Bears. We'll talk a little because Chicago is hosting the Big Ten tournament. We'll talk about the Illini maybe here in a second. But going into free agency for the Bears, I think their mindset and maybe some fans' mindsets were a little different. I mean, obviously there's an excitement after this past season and everyone wanted to quote unquote go for it. I think the Bears, and rightfully so, know this is a process. They've made some nice additions. We'll kind of go through them in a second, but your thoughts on what you expected from the Bears when it comes to free agency. And mind you, we're just starting. Nothing's done yet. That'll continue to go, but maybe what you expected and what you've seen so far this week.
Nothing's really unexpected to me. Could the Bears have made a major splash like sign Hendrickson? Sure. Did I expect it? Personally, not really, based off how Poles is built. Could he have justification to do that now? Absolutely. But the Bears still have a number of holes to fill, especially on defense. Their defense was very good at takeaways last year, but they struggled in other areas. So there were going to be other places they were going to have to build and shore up. Last year was an amazing season. I think now you've established that Caleb Williams is your franchise quarterback that I remember we were discussing so much last year when we did previews for it. And you've seen a lot of other things too, but the Bears had to do some cap work, so DJ Moore is gone. They were going to have to be, shrewd with some of their moves. I didn't expect a huge splash, and that's about what's happened.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You see that too. They had such a good season going into free agency. They created cap, which I think created excitement. They don't re-sign. They haven't signed, and he's gone elsewhere. Byard goes elsewhere. They get rid of Tremaine Edwards. I know there was a lot of focus on the defense, and it's still plenty of time to go. Has the defense gotten marketably better over the first couple days yet?
I would call it a push right now, to be honest with you. I mean, I really like the Kobe Bryant signing is the one I really like. I think that he's a really strong safety. And I think for me, a great defense kind of revolves around having a really good safety. And there's a lot of other things. I've always said if you can have a D tackle in the middle and a safety in the back, you've got something brewing there. And I really think that Bryant's going to be a guy who can do that. It's tough to lose Byard because he was so good and he had a tendency and a knack to find the ball. I kind of figured that might happen. And he talked about his previous relationship with Mike Vrabel when he was in Tennessee. So that worked out. For me, I think it is kind of a push right now. Devin Bush is really interesting to me. That the linebacker, he's had an interesting, came in with hype, had dealt with some injuries and now has come back and was very productive in Cleveland. That's someone I'm really eager to see that contribution, because if he's able to be somebody who takes it to another level, then things really change a lot. I think the biggest question for me is Jaquan Brisker and what happens with him. I think he's a very talented guy, always finds a way to get to the football. I'd really like the Bears to find a way to resign him, and maybe with Byard not coming back, maybe that happens. I'd say it's a push right now because I think there's a lot of moving parts. And don't forget there's the draft too, where I think the Bears will be tremendously active.
No, you mentioned it, and that's kind of my thoughts exactly. When you go Edwards for Bush, it's probably a push. But production-wise, but I mean, maybe a slight upgrade. I'd give maybe a slight upgrade. But safety-wise, I think your production-wise is a push. I think when it comes to the future and youth and maybe projecting a couple of years down the road, because Byard is 32 years old, and at some point the fountain of youth runs out for everyone. So I think long-term probably a better situation. Obviously, the Bears were forced to make a change or fix the center position. As a Lions fan, I know all about centers retiring too young with Frank Ragnow last year. But with that being said, I think the Bears had a great opportunity because they found out in March. They didn't find out in June when the Lions found out last year. They still had free agency. They still had the trade market. I laugh at Bears fans, not yourself, but some Bears fans that like everything, and it's just fans being fans. Every person that was out there, the Bears were going to sign. It was going to be Max Crosby, still could be. We'll talk about that in a second. Trey Hendrickson. Another one was Tyler Linderbaum. Right when Dahlman retired, it was Linderbaum. He got paid big time. Your thoughts on how they addressed that position? Because I think the biggest reason why the Bears were good last year wasn't Caleb Williams, wasn't the defense, was simply the guys up front. The offensive line changed that organization. Your thoughts on that center position? Did they address it enough so far? Well,
I think it's a to be further addressed in the draft, where I think that they may go up and get somebody fairly early. Bradbury's fine. A veteran guy, knows the NFC North. His play is good and bad to it. So I think that that's not a bad signing. The Dahlman thing was stunning. The first thing you thought is you hope he's okay because retiring so young off a Pro Bowl season, a chance, I think, to become one of the best at his position in the league, and his career is over just like that. And I think he was a critical player for the Bears last year, as I thought the whole offensive line was. The Bears had sought that offseason to address it, and they did. So that hurt. Bradbury, I don't mind, low cost. I think people wanted Linderbaum. I don't think that was going to happen. I don't think the Bears are ready to spend that if they believe that they're going to go draft a center. And I don't think that they were really willing or ready to do that because they probably, I'm sure it caught them by surprise. Dahlman was going to be your center to be with Williams for a couple of years. That's out the window. So I don't fault it, because I think if you have such a sudden change, and you don't want to do anything drastic, this is a nice step. Bradbury's there on a Super Bowl team this year. Veteran guy knows the division. Good way for you to have somebody to segue for a year. Maybe he finds another hit, another level to his career, and he stays longer. Or he's there to mentor a younger player to become that future center. Not a bad move. I know that there's been some criticism of it. I think it's fine. I think in the circumstances, it was a good one.
Obviously, from last year to this year, probably a downgrade. But you're right. You can't go into next season and want to compete for division championships and playoffs and championships and Super Bowls with a rookie at center. It might work out. You never know. But you can't really go into a season thinking that way. It's a great way to have some veteran experience there and ready to go. And if you do find a guy that in camp in the third, second round that plays really well, then maybe you can say, okay, this is our guy for the future. Let's get him in there. And it works out really well. Larry Hawley joining us right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. And by the way, no one loves Tyler Linderbaum more than I do as being a Hawkeye. But I thought 22 to 25 million would have been the max. 27 million. Good for him, right? Go get yours while you can. I'm gonna make you be a teacher. I'm gonna put your grading on. I'm gonna have you grade 4 different things. We kind of talked about them already, but give me a letter grade. Kobe Bryant, the safety, I think probably the biggest impact free agent that the Bears have added. Give me a grade on Kobe Bryant.
Oh, I think he's an A. I think this is somebody you could see with the way he's played, with the way he's developed. This could be a guy who's, one of the leaders of your defense. If he gets a chance now to emerge from a very good Seattle secondary, and he can go out there now and kind of make this his own. I think that, again, this, for me, it's having that impact defensive tackle, which I don't know if the Bears have yet, to having this now impact safety, which I think if they do pair him with Brisker, if that works out, could be very beneficial. I really like the move. I think right now, for me, that's the shining star of free agency at this moment as we speak on Thursday, March 12th. I think it's an A.
Devin Bush.
I would go with a B only because I would go with a B with an asterisk because there's so much to learn about him. I think it's a good signing because I think they get somebody who could be up and coming. As I've said before and talked about on this program and everywhere, NFL players develop upon their own time. And I think this is a player who may be coming into his prime a couple of years later into his career than maybe some might have expected. I would give it a B with a chance for that to go up.
We talked about the center position. Bradbury, a grade just around, obviously tough circumstances when it comes to the retirement, but we got to grade what we got to grade. Your thoughts on the Bradbury addition?
Give it a B minus, a B, probably a B, only because I think you did what you had to do to get yourself a veteran center, either A, to fill in for this year, B, he finds a new level and signs a longer contract and he's there, or C, he mentors a young center. The good news is it's 1 year. If it doesn't work out, it's 1 year. Again, you get there, you're not paying a really hefty price for that. I'll give it a B to go get a veteran quickly, especially considering that quick change. Again, you looked at center position after last year ended after the Super Bowl as one the Bears had locked down. You went from having that lockdown to not having that lockdown at all.
Larry, you look at this entire free agency. Let's focus on free agency. What grade would you get? Maybe even just forget it. Like we'll throw some trades in. Obviously, DJ Moore is no longer there. Got good capital for him. And I'm a Lions fan who don't love what the Lions have done. But again, we're here at March 12th, so we have plenty of time. How would you grade the Bears off season right now?
I would say B. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people said C. I just leave it at B because I don't think I think they've gotten some nice addition. I think Bryant's a really great addition. Jedrick Willis is an interesting player because he gives the Bears a chance to have a competition at the left tackle spot, which is obviously very important. He was out last year, so I'm curious what he'll do after showing some potential in Cleveland. I like the Devin Bush signing. Am I overwhelmed by any signing or acquisition or trade? Not really. It's just fallen in the middle for me. And again, I think the whole Drew Dahlman thing really changed a lot of the outlook because of how critical that position is. That's where I'm putting it, a B. I'm not overwhelmed. I'm not over the moon. I'm not disappointed. And I really don't know what would have put me over there. I guess maybe if the Bears had gotten Hendrickson, maybe if they'd done that and made that move, maybe. Just because I think, again, having an impact defensive lineman can do it. I'm sticking with a B, and that might be that's where I feel. I feel like it hasn't been underwhelming. It hasn't been overwhelming, but it hasn't been bad.
I put it at a C, and everybody watching this is like, of course you do. You probably and no, if I was a jerk, I'd put a D and a half. So like, I'm not doing it because I don't like the Bears. I think it's a C, but the grading is because of circumstances they maybe didn't expect. You know what I mean? Like, I think they had to pivot at center and go address a position, and maybe didn't allow them to do something different. I know Bears fans expected a big splash. And I think in Detroit they're frustrated because now the way they built it is great, but fans want them to be aggressive and go for it, and the window stuff that we've talked about in the show before. I think the Bears are building it the way the Lions did, with patience and draft capital and not overspending. I don't think you win. The Patriots last year is not the norm. Them going and spending a bunch of money and making it to a Super Bowl isn't the norm. It's not what usually happens. So when you look at the Bears, I like the additions they made on defense. I think and I'll ask you, who are the Bears' best two defensive players last year? Probably Bayard and maybe Edmonds.
Yeah, and maybe, I mean, that's kind of where I would be about at that point. I mean, I think that's where,
Wright was really good.
Jalen Johnson had his moments, as he always does, but he was hurt, a lot of the year. He had when he was able to play, and I think that did. I always go to Jalen because I think Jalen's a really elite player at his position.
Absolutely.
So I think of best players, he kind of comes to mind. When I'm looking at a guy who I think could be number one in the league, I think Jalen could be. And Jalen obviously was hurt a lot of last year. He had a couple of moments here. Actually, the game I went to, against the Browns, he had a tremendous interception. Yeah. And I think Jalen's always up there because I think he has a chance to be the best at his position in the National Football League.
No, 100%. I think their best defensive player is Jalen Johnson, but I think from performance-wise last year, they took probably their most two productive players, and that's who they replaced. I probably upgraded a little bit in both, but I think still, like you mentioned, the other edge, and in Detroit they talk about all the time, who's the other edge to Hutch. Well, at least Hutch is there. No offense to Montez Sweat, he can be really good, but he can be MIA. So there's work still to be done, and that's the beauty part, is their draft is still coming up. Now there's the interesting situation in Vegas. Is that hanging around? As a Bears fan, you thought, like, sometimes this is going to be a bad analogy that I always come up with in my head and probably speak them out and they don't make any sense. Sometimes it's better for a girl just to break up with you and move on and have a fresh start and not have that, is she still around? Not that I've ever had a girl break up with me, Larry. Obviously, that never happened. But, like, now it's hanging around. Like, the Max Crosby possibility is back. She moved back into town, if that makes any sense. Is that a good thing, a bad thing? Do you want Max Crosby? If you said right now, hey, a 1 and a 2 for Max Crosby, would you make that deal right now?
What if it was a 2 and a 2?
Yeah, absolutely.
What if it was a 2 and a 2? Maybe you do it. Maybe you do it for a 2 and a 2. You certainly aren't going to – I wouldn't do a first-round pick at all. There's first-round picks off the table with the health concerns, first-round picks off the table. What about a 2 and a 2? What about a 2 and a 3? Would you do that for the shot?
A 1,000%.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'd do that for – I know the salary's high. I think if it was low cap, which it could be – I mean, what if it's a 3 and a 3? I don't think so. I think Vegas will seek a first-round pick or keep him.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, what do you do? I mean, and, again, I do wonder how much Poles will be willing to risk. If the Bears' current offseason holds, then I don't think they would do it. It wouldn't be in their thought process to do that. Is it possible? Sure. They're not – no one's going to cough up – no one will cough up 2 first-round picks now. I'm not sure anybody would cough up a first-round pick unless the Bears would maybe be in that category, being more toward the bottom of the first round. Maybe they would think more about it. What if Vegas called and asked only for the first rounder?
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting if they just call for the first rounder. I don't think they will. Could it happen? Absolutely, because I never rule anything out. I just don't know with his health history, with Poles' history. I don't know if they do it. But what if Vegas calls for 2 2s? Do you do it?
Yeah.
You've got an extra 2. I think you'd think about it. I don't think you'd be able to get him for just 1, 2, but
No,
It's an
absolutely. And it's a discounted price now, which makes things, you would think, which doesn't mean they can have to move him by any stretch of imagination. But you look at it and gosh, the Lions just waived Josh Pascal, who was a second-round pick. And you can go through the laundry list of second-round picks. Yeah. Heck, you can go through the first-round picks that haven't hit. I do think the Bears, and this will get me in trouble too, they were a little ahead of schedule last year. And so I think that put and maybe not even a little, maybe a decent amount ahead of schedule. I don't think they take a huge step back, but I think maybe they center out a little bit this year. I still think they're going this way, and a Max Crosby trade for anything more than what you just mentioned would being signaling like, hey, we're winning it next year. This is our year. We're going to win it. And I don't know if the Bears brass look that way. I think they look big picture of like they want to build something that's sustainable for 3-4 years, not just next year or bust. But have you seen anything like that with the Crosby stuff? What went through your mind when you probably jumped onto X and saw that? What was it, 5 days later? They didn't want to do it anymore?
I wondered. Yeah, and I figured it might be a physical because he was shut down at the end of the year in Las Vegas. So I figured it maybe something came up. I mean, it's a stunning thing, especially when you have that big of a trade go down. And I guess good for Baltimore that they responded, getting Trey so fast. They really did respond quickly in getting that done. So they were willing to pay that price. They were, they looked at it. They've got Lamar, and they're always going to be kind of right there. I know that it went south a little bit last year. But they recovered, from a bad start and almost made the playoffs anyway. They're ready to go. And I think you're right with the Bears. I don't know what, in my mind, the Bears have done is open a 3-year window. This was a little bit different in 2019. I felt like the Bears defense at that point was at their peak. And that point, there was a 2-year window, and then that closed. I thought that defense had a 2-year window. With the quarterback set, which it was not in 2019, I think you'd agree with that. I think there was hope Trubisky would be a journeyman performer. I didn't think anybody thought he'd become Patrick Mahomes. That team had a 2-year window. In my mind, this Bears team may have a 3 to 4 year window. And so I think there might be just a shade more patience. Whereas I thought in 19, the Bears needed to do everything that year to go for it because that was it.
Larry Hawley put the Bears at a B in the offseason. I have them at a C. There's a poll up right now on our social media. Where would you grade the Bears? It is March 12th, so don't get cranky with me. We understand more is to be done. How would you grade the Bears this offseason as well? One other thing about the Bears, Khalif Raymond, y'all will love him. He's a great locker room guy. I did say the other day on the show, got people mad at me, but he is 32 years old. He's going to be 32 years old, and he's a 4th-string wide receiver. Good in the kicker game, but like he wasn't a kickoff guy. He punt, return, and I was in Detroit a couple years ago when he took one to the house and nearly took another one. It was awesome. So great guy. The Bears are getting Khalif Raymond. They're not getting Amon-Ra St. Brown. But I think when it comes to tutoring to younger wide receivers like Rome Odunze and Luther Burden, and for the price that it was, I thought it was a good pickup as well.
Yeah, I think so too. And you get a good return too. I think it's good to have a veteran in there because now Odunze, now Burden, they're your guys now, at least as receivers. I think Loveland and Komet, I think, are pretty solid. I don't think they're moving along from Komet. I know some people had talked about it. I don't know if they'll do that. No. So you've got it set, but they do need to get Odunze. They need to get Burden up to speed. No, Odunze had, he had his injury troubles last year. I think going back to Johnson, another talented guy who just, had a little bit of trouble seeing the field last year.
No, absolutely.
And then the targets weren't quite there, but they need him now with DJ Moore gone. You kind of need him now. I assume they'll address at least that a little bit in the draft, but I like the Raymond pickup. And again, it's never bad to have a good returner. So that's a good thing too.
Not at all. Love Khalif. I just told Bears fans it's Khalif Raymond, not Amon-Ra St. Brown. Relax, and I got yelled at as usual. Real quick, Illini. It's almost like the revenge tour, possibly this week with probably Wisconsin tomorrow, maybe Michigan the day after that, maybe Michigan State the day after that. Your thoughts on the Big Ten tournament with Illinois, and also should Illini fans care? And I mean that in a way of the important tournaments next week. Going through a gauntlet like that might affect next week. I don't know if it does or your thought process on that, but Illinois basketball in Chicago this weekend. What are your thoughts?
I think that Illinois, first of all, they need, a win to assure a second seed. I think if they lose in that first one, is it a big difference between 2 or 3? No. but it would be good to get to St. Louis. So a win would be nice. I think Michigan's the best team in the Big Ten. They went to Champaign and showed that. I think it's Michigan, and there's a couple of lengths between them and everybody else. I think it's always important. I think Illinois got a lot of momentum a couple of years ago when they went to the Big Ten championship game and won it. I think that was a big deal. Now, again, that was a team that was surging forward when they got Shannon back. So that team was really building momentum. It's a little different this year, even though Illinois, outside of the Michigan game, was very close in all of their losses. I would say that in my mind, they're still a second weekend team. I think could some of the thoughts and the momentum have cooled just a little bit from where they were maybe mid-February? I think that's agreed. I think the team needs to be more consistent, but I still think that there is some good thoughts that this team could be productive in March. And I think a good Big Ten tournament could help that. I think even beating Michigan, who I think they, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they would face most likely would face if they're able to get past their game on Friday. I think that would be a big thing. There's nothing wrong with low momentum for the Big Ten tournament. I think it does help a little bit. I do think, though, if you're an Illini fan, root for one win, because if they can get that one win, I think it's second seed, and I think it's at least St. Louis for the first round.
We always love talking with Larry Hawley. My brother's named Larry, and you, Larry, are my favorite Larry. No offense to my brother, Larry, but Larry Hawley joining us on Off the Air. Appreciate you, my friend. Enjoy St. Patrick's Day, and we'll catch up again soon. Thank you, as always.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt, for having me on. I always appreciate it.
All right, that is Larry Hawley on Off the Air. Go check it out. Go vote. A, B, C, D. I didn't give it an F. If you want to write an F, you can. But always great to catch up with Larry and talk Bears, because the NFL does it right. You're always, whether it's free agency, now draft, then the schedule reveal, next thing you know, training camp opens, they are always on everyone's mind. They are the king when it comes to sports right now. We got more to get to. You're watching OTA on a Thursday here in the Quad Cities. For over 65 years, Lindquist Ford has proudly served the Quad Cities, and they're just getting started. Looking for a new ride? Check out a healthy mix of new and quality pre-owned vehicles ready for you. Need service? Skip the waiting room. With free pickup and delivery and mobile service, they come to you. No delays, no hassle. From routine maintenance to a full-service collision repair shop, it's fast, friendly, reliable, and always transparent. Lindquist Ford, serving the Quad Cities since 1959. Experience the difference today. Welcome back to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Thursday in the Quad Cities. A busy show, to say the least. If you're wondering about the Iowa basketball game, they are leading 22-21, close game. Bennett Sturt, 7 points. Bruce Thornton, only 2 points so far, about 3 minutes left to go in the first half. So the Cyclones tipping off a short time ago as well. So the college basketball already rocking and rolling here on a Thursday morning still. Great time of year. March Madness is in full swing. We want to thank our guests for joining us. Tom Kakert giving us a Hawkeye update and kind of getting us ready for the Ohio State game from Chicago. Andrew Lehman joined us as well. The big news locally here in the Quad Cities, the concerts on the course for Saturday's John Deere Classic is Carrie Underwood. So your music weekend of the John Deere Classic is Carrie Underwood and Old Dominion. Not too bad at all for the John Deere Classic. So Andrew Lehman joined us to talk about that and some changes possibly coming to the PGA Tour and how it might affect the John Deere Classic in the future. We also got a chance to catch up with Jim Mattson, talk to little Illini as they get ready to begin their Big Ten tournament tomorrow. And then also our thanks to Larry Hawley for joining us to talk a little Bears and grading the Bears. You can go to our poll on social media, go to @Matt Randazzo, and you can vote to grade the Bears free agency so far. A, B, C, D. If you want to give them an F, you got to write it in, which as a Lions fan, you can give them an F all you want. I'm okay with that as well. So we'll have one more busy show tomorrow. Coming up tomorrow, Jake Brent will be on the show and much, much more. We'll get you to your weekend tomorrow. TGIF Friday almost here. But thank you for watching today's episode of Off Day with Matt Randazzo. We'll see you back here again tomorrow.